Hi, I'm Cardi C. Sorry, I don't like tea, and I'm not sus.
Hello there, I'm Demarcus Cousins III. I like watching football on Thursday nights and playing the clarinet in the shower.
And this is Bees Knees News. Welcome.
Right. Oh my god, you see, let's get started with the information. Alright, first up let's talk about Britain new technology. Let's get right into this. First we got the tanks, alright? These tanks were first used on the 15th of September of 1916 during the Battle of Flers-Courcelette, part of some of the offensive on the Western Front. Early tanks were slow and unreliable, but they were also new and imposing. The tank proved to have a significant effect during this war. By mid-1918, tanks were a standard element of British warfare. This clip shows an unarmed Mark IV tank used during training later in the war.
So Britain's opinions of the war is that we felt really pulled into the war because we were worried of Germany advancing too far into our circle and worried that they would have an opportunity to attack us. We also felt pulled in because we were deeply concerned about our friends in France and did not want them to be fully attacked, and we always want them to know that we have their back. And we also thought that Germany was evil, so that's about that. Okay, now we move on to some major battles. One of the biggest major battles was the Battle of the Somme. From July 1st to November 18th, 1916, we worked with France to gain a decisive win during our trench warfare. It also introduced the tank. It was a major offensive for us, and we are very thankful for all the new volunteer armies that made this victory possible. We used new great strategies, and this war is a real turning point for us. And although we lost 360,000 men, who will always be remembered, their efforts allowed for major gain. Another big battle was the Battle of Marne. From September 6th to the 12th, 1914, an offensive battle using our British Expeditionary Force and the French to advance against the evil Germans who are within 30 miles of France and Paris. Along with the help of the French, we have been able to demolish bridges and railways, really slowing down the German supply line, which is a big win for us as the British. This battle also allows us to stay in this war and not fall behind. We are no longer retreating and are on the move to offensively win this war. Now we move on to the Battle of Jutland. This was the largest naval battle, and during this great war, we had 151 ships, while Germany only had a small 99. The Germans had planned to ambush us, but thanks to our amazing codebreakers, we were able to meet them prepared. We were on the run till reinforcements showed up, and the Germans outgunned, and we outgunned the Germans by a power, and they ended up retreating. Now everyone will know our dominance, and we will have control of all the trade routes, thanks to our great wars. Alright, you're good.
That was good. That was actually a good time up. Okay, yeah, I was just next. Let's go into the phenomenal Christmas truce you're hearing about now. Let's talk about it. So, at the first light of the dawn on Christmas Day, some German soldiers emerged from their trenches and approached the Allied lines across no man's land, calling out "Merry Christmas" in their enemy's native tongues. At first, the Allied soldiers feared it was a trick, but seeing the Germans unarmed and climbed out of the trenches, shook hands with the enemy soldiers. The men exchanged presents of cigarettes and plum puddings and sang carols and songs. Some Germans lit Christmas trees around their trenches, as there was even a documented case of soldiers from opposing sides playing a good-natured game of soccer.
Now on to impact of the war. Britain lost over 1 million people. This war led to high unemployment, small trade, and an overall high amount of public debt. During the war, people started to unite though, and have a sense of determination to fight back. Due to all the injuries, a lot of soldiers after the war had to adjust and figure out what the new direction in their life would be. A lot of public funds were being given out, so these soldiers and people and families could survive, leading to an overall bad economic state. Another big part of World War I was trench warfare. As you all know, on the ground warfare is very dangerous. A lot of this fighting is done in trenches. Our soldiers use bayonets fixed to their rifles and will charge into the spaces in between opposing forces, which is called no man's land, which is under heavy fire all the time to gain territory. Our amazing men do this with too many bullets to count shooting at them. And trench warfare is only getting more effective at night with artillery shooting. This trench warfare is especially dangerous with all the diseases running rampant. These trenches are super unsanitary and have infectious diseases such as dysentery, cholera, and typhoid fever. The constant exposure to wetness causes trench foot, a painful condition in which the dead tissue spread across from one or both feet, sometimes requiring amputation. Very tragic for all of our soldiers. There is also trench mouth, a type of gum infection, which is problematic and is thought to be associated with the stress of non-stop bombardment. So while trench warfare is the most dangerous type of fighting and is ruthless, it is also one of the most beneficial ways for us to gain offensive ground.
Alright, next we got the Treaty of Versailles. Let's talk about this. This treaty was signed in June of 1919 at the Palace of Versailles in Paris at the end of World War I. Codified peace terms between the victorious Allies and Germany. Oh, interesting, huh? The Treaty of Versailles held Germany responsible for starting the war and imposed harsh penalties in terms of loss of territory. Massive reparations, payments, and demilitarization. And now we get into the end of the war. After these major battles, Germany formally surrendered on November 11th, 1918, and them and the Allied powers signed the Treaty of Versailles on the 11th day, 11th month of the 11th hour. David Lloyd represented Britain in the signing of the treaty. Lloyd George wanted to punish Germany, but not enough to completely wipe it out. The goal was to get Germany to pay reparations to Britain, which was soon obtained. And there we have it. Thank you for watching the Bees Knees News.
Thank you. I've been Cody C.
And I'm DeMarcus Cousins III. Remember, he's not sus.
I'm not sus.